Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top 4 stories from across the world. I'm Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Israel for a 2-day state visit aimed at strengthening defence, trade and technology ties. The Indian Air Force conducts a full dress rehearsal of exercise Vayu Shakti in Rajasthan's Thar Desert, showcasing coordinated airstrikes ahead of the main event later this month. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz begins his first visit to China, seeking to balance strong trade ties with Beijing while pressing for support on ending Russia's war in Ukraine. Torrential rains in Brazil's Minas Gerais state trigger landslides and severe flooding, killing at least 30 people and leaving dozens more missing as rescue teams search through mud and debris. And Senegal's government introduces legislation that could increase prison terms for same-sex relations to up to 10 years, prompting criticism from rights groups. US President Donald Trump has delivered the longest State of the Union address in American history, a staggering 108 minutes on the clock. It was a marathon of storytelling with a blend of triumph lap, rally speech and political manifesto all rolled into one. From the first sentence, it was all victory, all the time. The president began exactly as he always does, by declaring success.
This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
He claimed that the economy was booming and history is being rewritten in real time. Republicans stood repeatedly, clapping and cheering. Democrats, for the most part, remained seated in protest. Others even heckled. He warned about foreign threats, especially Iran's alleged missile ambitions, and insisted Tehran would never be allowed a nuclear weapon. Trump also claimed Iran is seeking to develop missiles that can strike the United States, but kept the door open for diplomacy.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over.
But Iran's foreign ministry has denounced Trump's claims, calling it a big lie. Iran has repeatedly denied that it is seeking a nuclear weapon. Trump's latest comments come ahead of another round of nuclear talks between the US and Iran, slated to take place in Geneva tomorrow. Trump also reiterated that his tariffs had lowered inflation at home and caused tremendous growth. But official data says otherwise. While price increases have slowed down, the inflation rate is still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Then, the president slammed the Supreme Court. He called the court's ruling against many of his global tariffs imposed last year unfortunate.
So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before.
And foreign policy was mentioned in his speech too. Trump boasted about US operations in Venezuela and his so-called ceasefire brokered between India and Pakistan, a claim New Delhi has repeatedly rejected outright. Speaking at the capital, he claimed the situation between India and Pakistan last year would have spiraled into a nuclear war.
Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people, said the Prime Minister of Pakistan, would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there.
And an hour into the speech, Trump resumed his dark rhetoric against opponents and undocumented immigrants. He claimed Democrats were destroying America and that Somali pirates had ransacked Minnesota.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where corruption and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games.
Well, the president also hailed the progress he said his administration has made in slashing illegal immigration and securing the southern US border, although he did not mention his immigration enforcement crackdown in Minnesota. He also appointed Vice President J.D. Vance to lead a war on fraud, especially in Democrat-controlled states. Overall, this year's address built an apex of certainty that America has never been stronger in Trump's eyes. But for large parts of America, there is deep disagreement. And it came at a time when the US president's approval ratings are falling. When the speech ended, there was applause on one side and silence on the other, in a divided Capitol. Trump did not just describe America, he tried to define it. Moving on now to West Asia, where tensions are at a critical point as Tehran and the US prepare for a high-stake round of nuclear talks in Geneva. Iran's foreign minister has said that a deal is within reach, but only if diplomacy is given priority. Since dialogue resumed earlier this month, the upcoming Thursday talks in Geneva will mark the third round of negotiations. A backdrop of intense military pressure is the reason for these discussions. President Trump has issued a stark warning, threatening military strikes unless Iran agrees to a fair deal. He has repeatedly stated that it is US policy to prevent Iran from ever acquiring nuclear weapons. This comes amid a massive US military buildup in West Asia.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
And Trump has repeatedly accused Iran of brutal internal repression, missile expansion, and reviving its nuclear program. In a fiery statement, Trump claimed Tehran is pursuing what he called sinister ambitions.
And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
And Iran has fired back with its own warnings. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said that any attack would be considered an act of aggression and would be met with a strong response. And Iran is also flexing its military muscle on the ground. Yesterday, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps conducted fresh military drills along Iran's southern coast, near the strategic Gulf waters. Iran is also moving to significantly upgrade its military capabilities. Tehran is reportedly close to finalizing a major arms deal with China to acquire advanced supersonic anti-ship missiles. The proposed deal involves the purchase of China's CM-302 missiles. The foreign minister of Iran reiterated that the nation would never create a nuclear weapon. However, it will keep defending its right to peaceful nuclear technology for research and energy. Diplomatic and security actions have already been taken across the region as a result of this ongoing escalation. Citing safety concerns, the United States has ordered non-essential staff to leave its embassy in Beirut. India too has issued urgent advisories urging their citizens to depart Iran immediately. Meanwhile, Indian students in Iran are struggling to make decisions amid the growing uncertainty. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has received a letter from the All India Medical Students Association urging diplomatic intervention to ensure their safe return without academic penalties. Many of those affected are medical students with exams scheduled in March, but universities have not announced any postponements. This has left them torn between returning home for safety or staying to protect their academic year.
अभी सिचुएशन तो फिलहाल ऐसे ईरान में ठीक है, लेकिन इंटरनली लेकिन एक्सटर्नली बहुत हालात खराब है। बोल रहे हैं कि वॉर उठेगा, बाकी चीजें मतलब बहुत चीजें खराब हो जाएगी विद इन कमिंग डेज। बट हम लोग के कुछ ओलंपिया एग्जाम्स शेड्यूल किए गए हैं 5 मार्च। हम इंडियन एम्बेसी से रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ ईरान से बात करें कि इसको पोस्टपोन करें अंटिल नवरोज। जो
And signs of internal pressure are once again increasing inside Iran. In the capital, Tehran, student protests are spreading throughout university campuses, reflecting growing discontent amid escalating tensions with the United States. In response, the Iranian government declared that students were entitled to protest, but cautioned that everyone needs to comprehend what is known as the red line. The situation on the ground, however, is different. Reports claim that plain-clothes police and armed security forces have been deployed across universities. This is seen as a sweeping effort to crush the student protests against the Iranian regime. And the world is keeping a close eye on these developments. Whether this crisis ends at the negotiating table or turns into another devastating war in the region could be decided in the coming days. Moving on now. Tensions have once again surged along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, just days after reported deadly airstrikes. Islamabad has now accused the Taliban of unprovoked firing. Pakistani and Afghan forces exchanged fire along the border, with each side accusing the other of triggering the clash. The confrontation has further strained already fragile ties.
There was firing from the Pakistani side towards Afghanistan, which was met with a response from the border forces. Currently, the fighting has stopped and there are no casualties on our side.
Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif held Afghan forces responsible for the escalation and issued a warning.
The Afghan Taliban regime initiated unprovoked firing along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border in Torkham and Tira subsectors. Pakistan's security forces responded immediately and effectively, silencing the Taliban aggression. Any further provocation will be responded to immediately and severely. Pakistan will continue to protect its citizens and guard its territorial integrity.
Well, amid the cross-border firing, a funeral was held in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Reports said 5 policemen and 2 civilians were killed in an attack after gunmen allegedly ambushed a police vehicle in the northwestern city near the Afghan border. No group has claimed responsibility so far for the attack. There is no confirmation whether the deaths were linked to the latest cross-border clashes. This latest escalation comes after Pakistan struck what it called terrorist targets inside Afghanistan over the weekend, after a wave of deadly suicide blasts. Islamabad said the air raids targeted camps of the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and Daesh in eastern Afghanistan.
The Pakistan military conducted an intelligence-based selective operation against 7 camps belonging to the Pakistani Taliban, also known as Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and its affiliates. An affiliate of the Islamic State group was also targeted in the border region.
Well, Pakistan did not specify the exact locations it targeted. However, Afghanistan's defense ministry released a statement saying several civilian areas in eastern provinces were struck. The ministry claimed a religious institution and multiple homes were also hit. The government said the strikes were a violation of Afghanistan's airspace and sovereignty. An Afghan government spokesperson said the attack killed and wounded dozens, including women and children. The United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan reported that at least 13 civilians were killed and 7 were injured in the weekend airstrikes. Pakistan has accused Afghanistan multiple times of sheltering TTP militants. It has blamed Kabul for a surge in cross-border attacks, a charge Afghanistan denies. Pakistani military officials said more than 500 people were killed in attacks last year, out of which 311 of them were soldiers. Most of the violence, they said, were carried out by the TTP. Islamabad has accused Kabul of failing to act against these militants allegedly targeting Pakistan. The relations between the neighbouring nations has deteriorated sharply in recent months. A deadly fighting in October 2025 between the two killed more than 70 people on both sides. Border crossings through land have largely remained shut since then. A Qatari-mediated ceasefire was initiated soon after, but the talks have failed. And the latest joint military drill between India and Japan has begun. The exercise is part of regular defence cooperation and focuses on improving how the two armies operate together on the ground. This is the 7th edition of the joint military exercise. It's called the Dharma Guardian 2026. The drill is being held at a military training facility in Uttarakhand. It began on February the 24th and will run till March the 9th. This year, around 120 soldiers from India and 120 from Japan are taking part. The Japanese side is represented by troops from the 32nd Infantry Regiment, while the Indian Army team is from the Ladakh Scouts. In simple terms, the exercise is about learning how to fight and operate together. Soldiers from both countries are practicing how to plan missions jointly, move as one unit, and handle combat situations in semi-urban and urban areas. The focus is on teamwork so that both armies can coordinate better during real operations. This includes setting up temporary bases, creating surveillance and information networks, setting up mobile checkposts, conducting search operations in hostile areas, carrying out helicopter-based missions, and practicing room-to-room intervention drills. The Indian Army says the exercise focuses on improving coordination between the two forces, especially during counter-terror operations.
Designed to promote the exchange of best practices, tactics, and operational procedures, the exercise seeks to further enhance interoperability and deepen professional cooperation between the two armies.
Now, this exercise is held alternately in India and Japan. The last edition took place at East Fuji Training Area in Japan. India and Japan have been steadily strengthening defence ties over the years. Apart from army drills like Dharma Guardian, the two countries also held joint naval exercises called GMAX and Air Force drills known as Veer Guardian. Their defence partnership is a part of a broader network and effort to work closely on security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. With Dharma Guardian 2026 underway in Uttarakhand, India and Japan are once again training side by side, building skills, trust and cooperation and coordination as they deepen defensive cooperation and work towards shared regional security goals. Well, that's all we have on the show for today. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thanks for watching.